So good evening. Tonight is April 2nd. Hard to believe it's April. And we are going into spring break next week. So I want to be very, very clear on the schedule and the academic calendar. And this does reflect what's in the syllabus, but the syllabus isn't always in our right hand. So what I did is I just made a very, very simple slide here. So let's look at spring break and how it affects our class. So today is the 2nd, and I'm introducing chapter 9, okay? But what's going to happen is the activities of chapter 9 that we're introducing this week will not be due until the 17th because I cannot have something due on the 10th, which is spring break. So this week, it will be due on the 17th. Next Sunday, because spring break doesn't begin till the 10th, there will be a recording, but that work will not be due until the 24th. So hopefully that clarifies. And of course, there will be no online meeting on Sunday, April 16th, because that will be during spring break. So hopefully this will help clarify for you, and I'll absolutely put this up on Canvas as well. So now, with no further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the assignments for this week. This week we're talking about preparing persuasive business proposals, and I've given you some resources to look at. This is a chance for me to make sure that the links are indeed working. So if we go here, chapter 9, preparing persuasive business proposals, in theory, this will take you to the chapter 9 overview. So here's our chapter 9 overview, and there's 3 study questions. How do you use the ACE or the ACE process to prepare an effective proposal? What types of business proposals should you be prepared to write? And how do you structure or format a formal proposal? So let's go through the resources. So I have broken up the videos into 3 separate videos for you. Each one is one study question. So there's study question 1, study question 2, and study question 3. Each video should not be longer than 9 minutes. Then I have the slides with all the scripts, again, for those of you who like to read along. In addition, let's talk about a little link to some flashcards. Now, you don't have to use these, but this is Quizlet. Quizlet is something that all of you can join and make your own flashcards. But right here, here's just a simple flashcard set for the keywords in this particular chapter. Proposal, external proposal, internal proposal, solicited, unsolicited, an RFP, competitive versus non-competitive, deliverables, business case, a SOW or statement of work, grant proposal, cover message, software, executive summary, and repurposing content. So again, you don't have to do anything with it. It's just additional information for you to use. Let's go back. The next resource for you this week is a link to 7 steps to a winning business proposal. This is an article by the Entrepreneur website, and it's written by Sue Clayton. And this particular article has some very, very good links for you as well. So this basically breaks it down to the key steps of studying the requirements and reading them carefully as somebody who not only writes and submits proposals, but also reviews them, as well as I have to write all my own RFPs for some of the projects that I do within the LRCC district. And one of the first things that really helps me screen out proposals when they come through for grant funding is whether they followed our instructions. Understanding the client, developing a methodology once the goals are clear, evaluating the solution, how to really outshine your competitors. Now, when we talk about outshining your competitors, the caveat to this is, first of all, you need to know your competitors, if at all possible. Then you're writing the proposal. And without a doubt, the most important part of also writing your proposal is having someone proof it. And there are people that you can get that pay to proof. That's completely up to you. It just depends on how much you have at stake with your proposal. With that, this is a great little video on 7 common proposal writing mistakes. A lot of this does have to do with following directions and not proofing. It's a very, very brief video, but it's a great guide to proposal mistakes and how to avoid them. The next video I have for you this week is Tom Stant, and some of you might be very, very familiar with him. He is very, very popular and known as the foremost practitioner of proposal writing. So this was his keynote speak regarding sales and proposal writing, and he does a great job. To show and demonstrate your skills this week, we have My Become Lab activities. So these will look very, very similar to you. The warm-up, the DSM, the simulation, the makeovers, and the quiz. Again, I remind you weekly, but I'll remind you yet again, I do not close My Become Lab, so you're welcome to go back to that at any time. Unlike the weekly activities, which do have deadlines, and you do need to submit within those deadlines. My Become Lab link is here for you. This week, for your writing exercise, this is going to be key concepts number 7. You work in a business office. By the way, this is located in your textbook as well. And if you go to your textbook, this here can be found at the end under key concepts. This particular page is 325. You work in the business office of Hotel Oldham, and you received a request for a proposal from the National Sports Collectors Association, which would like to hold its annual convention and memorabilia sale in your hotel. The planners anticipate more than 1,000 people will attend. It's your job to write a proposal to the NSCA. How would you describe the proposal? Is it solicited or unsolicited? Is it competitive or non-competitive? Is it internal or external? Identify at least one requirement that you would need to meet in your proposal. Identify one potential benefit that you might want to include. Identify at least one potential objection that you might have to address. And what medium would you use to best compose and deliver this proposal? Second one is you work for Survey King, a company that designs customer satisfaction surveys. One of your longtime customers, a regional airline, has requested that you submit a proposal to design a customer survey to assess satisfaction with a new service. Would you consider this proposal to be solicited or unsolicited? Competitive or non-competitive? Internal or external? Review study question 9.2 in this chapter, which lists a typical content for a proposal. In this situation, what content do you think would be the most important for getting the sale? What content is least important? And what medium would you choose to compose and deliver the proposal? And again, this will be if you simply use the guides in chapter 9 and then 9.2, that will help guide. There's the 9.3. Let's go back one page. Flip through. Let's take a look at 9.2. Here it is. Okay, so notice that we have a checklist that is incredibly key to look at. In this particular 9.2, I want you to look at this particular email. It identifies the purpose, it captures the audience interest, it really articulates the problem well. This is the compelling, persuasive piece of it. This is where we focus on the benefits and or address any potential problems, and then we request the action. If you're choosing to write emails in a proposal, again, notice the clear and concise layout, but in any and all proposals, you should be able to identify the key concepts and aspects. All right, so next assignment. You'll have a 50-point quiz based upon the 3 study questions in this particular chapter. Please take your time. Finally, this week, for your discussion, I want you to do a little discussion posting on the progress of your research paper. I pause there for the groan. I realize that it's not due until 5:15, and many of you might have the desire to procrastinate. However, 25 easy points to just touch bases and let me know how it goes. But I prefaced it this way. Take a look at your work plan that you submitted earlier in the semester. Are you on schedule? How is your research? Have you conducted any interviews or surveys? What challenges are you having? Are you living off the thrill of procrastination, adrenaline, and trying not to panic? This week, share with us your status, but no judgment, just support. Now, keep in mind, this isn't due till the 24th, so your status could completely change by the time you do this posting. Prior to posting, I do want you to view this one TED Talk by Tim Urban. If you haven't seen it before, it introduces the concept of the panic monster. Some of us are really motivated by the panic monster and why we procrastinate. It is a must-see TED Talk if you are even slightly one of our procrastinators. I'm going to go back to the home screen. Those are all the activities this week, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about your group activity. Here's what's really cool. The groups are working well together and keep communicating with me. Remember, each of you has to participate. If your participation isn't noted, for example, in this week's table where it identifies who contributed what, then you will not receive points for that. If there's anybody who misses two activities in a row or during this process, you will be removed from the group. So make sure you are communicating with your group at all points in time. So here's your activity for April 24th. Your group will now begin to formalize your presentation with the creation of our presentation outline. You are welcome to use any format you wish and only needs to contain the following details: topic, introduction, overview, history, etc., who the presenter is for that particular piece, and remember, all of your team need to be participating in the presentation, and then the estimated minutes allocated to that part of the presentation. This process allows us to divide up the work evenly, as well as ensure that your presentation stays within the 5 to 7 minute time frame. This time frame includes questions as well. Use Google Docs to create your outline, and please download the document in PDF and then upload by the deadline. Note that this assignment is not due until the week after spring break. However, it is in your team's best interest to get it done as soon as possible to facilitate time for the slide creation. Because if we look at our calendar and we return on the 24th, okay, when the assignments are due, so I'm not going to lecture on the 16th, I'll lecture on the 23rd. We're back in the swing of things. Then we only have 2 weeks before our presentation date. Perfect. Let's go back home. All right. So those are the assignments for this week for Chapter 9. That's the group activity. Remember, we do have a calendar that represents that this work presented tonight is not due until the 17th. We will be online next week on the 9th, but then we will not be online on the 16th, and any activities that are assigned on the 9th will not be due until the 24th. Also remember, your research papers due on the 15th of May, so stay focused. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and then take any general questions.